Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk with the Titans, live from London, UK, all the way to the US of A and worldwide. I'm your host, Callum L, and this is Talk with the Titans. On tonight's show, we have something special in store for you. We have two up-and-coming, two rising titans going to be delivering a beautiful, wonderful discourse on varying topics. First of all, we've got our brother Ahneeahm Ben Israel in the studios. Greetings to you, brother Ben. Ahneeahm.
Peace and blessings.
All right, and next we have the brother Tae Campbell from the UK. Greetings to you, my brother Hotep.
Peace, bro. Hotep, bro.
Okay, these are our up-and-coming rising titans. So, Ahneeahm, I know you're currently at university at the moment. You're a lecturer, if that's correct?
Well, yeah, I'm a researcher and an educator. I work at Clark Atlanta University and in the School of the Prophets Institute.
Okay, wonderful. So you have a presentation in store for us today, correct?
Yes, indeed.
All right. So let's get into it then. I'm really excited to see what you've got for us. So please share your screen and let's get started.
All right, one moment, please.
Okay. And whilst we wait, I'd just like to let everybody know, we're live and direct. So if anybody out there, that knows the show is on right now but hasn't really clicked onto it, just share it to them on their Facebook. Just hit the share button down below and let everybody know that we are live right now. Also, please, if you're new to the show, just hit the subscribe button on the top left. Just up here, right there. Just hit the subscribe button if you're new to the show. And let me just give you a quick background about us. Talk with the Titans was birthed out of the idea that the intellectual giants, the titans of our community, should have a well-organized platform to present, discuss, and debate critical information affecting our community. So in that being said, I'm going to get this brother right now to present some information. Later on, we can actually start discussing this and have a dialogue. So I want to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments down below. And let's get this started. I'm going to share the brother's screen right now. And he's going to give a quick introduction into himself.
Okay, my name is Ahneeahm Ben Israel. I'm known as Moray here in Atlanta, simply a Hebrew word that means teacher. I'm a student.
Ahneeahm, real quickly, could you possibly maximize the screen?
Is it not maximized?
No.
One moment.
Okay. So as we wait for him to maximize the screen, yeah, please hit the share button to share this on your Facebook, your Twitter. Let everybody know that we are live right now. Talk with the Titans live from the UK. We've got two great brothers in, two up-and-coming rising titans on right now. We have, brother Tae Campbell from the UK. Brother Tae Campbell from the UK. Wow, you're going to be so amazed at the information that he has to offer. We're going to go into the mystery schools of Kemet, and beyond, really, truly. We're going to be discussing about the devil, how it stimulates fear in the psyche, the reactions that it have on your physical body and your spiritual self. Where did these concepts originate from? Where did we get the concept of the goat, the snake, etc.? Why does this primordial being, give us a sense of, fear? And how does that operate on our body? We've got our brother Ahneeahm Ben Israel going to be giving us something wonderful. It's going to bring us into the new paradigm. African Hebrew Israelites stand up. Trust me, we've got this on lock. So I'm just going to check my brother's screen. Brother, I know we're short for time, so if you can't get it up and running, we can just keep it moving.
Okay, well, on my screen, it's maximized.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so just real briefly, I'm a student of world history, biblical hermeneutics, and cultural diplomacy. I also function as a researcher and an educator in the philosophy and religion department here at Clark Atlanta University. I've taught classes at Morehouse College, the Interdenominational Theological Center, and Emory University here in Atlanta. And I'm working on my first book, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Myth, The Truth About World Religions. In my capacity as an educator, one of my major goals is to provide curricula, to actually design new ways and new approaches to teaching issues that are very relevant for the overall condition of our people to be elevated. So what you see on your screen right now are two textbooks that I've actually designed. I have them here with me, and these represent the first stages of what is going to evolve into a much more comprehensive work dealing with a new approach to religious studies. But the real key is to understand why these subjects are even relevant for us as a people. And in order to do that, we have to understand the state of the world today. Because honestly, we find ourselves in a state of profound worldwide crisis. It is a complex, multi-dimensional crisis whose facets touch every aspect of our lives, our health and our livelihoods, the quality of our environment and social relationships, our economy, intellectual, moral, and spiritual dimensions. It is a crisis of a scale and urgency which is unprecedented in recorded human history. For the first time, we have to deal with the very real threat of extinction of the human race and of all lives on this planet. So then what we need is a new paradigm, a new vision of reality, a fundamental change in our thoughts, perceptions, and values. The gravity and global extent of this crisis is of such a nature that it makes us realize that the type of transformation needed will be unprecedented. It'll have to be a turning point for the planet as a whole. Those quotes are extracted from a book entitled The Turning Point: Science, Society, and the Rising Culture by Fritjof Capra, which I'm currently reading. And they speak to a reality which has very special significance for African people. Because when you deal with the state of the world today, if we could borrow for a moment from biblical wisdom, which states that you shall reap what you sow. If you are only going to reap what you sow according to this law of the seed, then we could compare the state of the planet today as a great harvest. We could relate it to a great harvest, and as a harvest, it is the end result of seeds that were sown. The condition that we're in today in 2015 was not created in 2015. This is the end result. This is the yield. This is the product of seeds which were sown a long time ago. And when we received those seeds, we did so believing that they would yield positive fruit for us. This is true whether you're dealing on a personal level with areas related to healthcare, family building techniques, relationships, economics, or on a larger level when you deal with geopolitics, sociology, the environmental crisis that we're facing. All of the things that are being done today are being done by people who at some point accepted these seeds and said that they're worth planting. And the fact that those seeds have yielded this predicament is an indication of the fact that we have a crisis in perception. The problem is in our minds. The problem is the way that we're thinking. And what is it that allows for us to continue to remain under the influence of the deception which has led us to this point? Are you all following me with the slides?
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't think the slides is continuing perfectly. If you could just take it off screen share and just talk with us, I think it would be better.
Okay. Can you see me now?
No, you're not being shown for some reason. But continue though. Unless you could fix the screen where we can see you.
Yeah, I'll try to do both at one time. So the point is that we have this crisis in perception, something that we could simply refer to as the perception of deception. And it has impacted every single facet, every area, every sector of our lives. And our goal in this generation now is to undo the effects of what has been done to us. We want to get out of the situation that we're currently in. And in order to do that, we're going to have to tap into this new worldview. Can you see me now?
Yeah, we can see you perfectly.
Excellent. So what I have presented and what I'll be making available on our online forum is a chart which contains two columns. And it's a two-column chart which depicts two different mindsets, two different worldviews. And I've classified them as the African Edenic worldview and the Euro-Gentile worldview. These two minds now have moved throughout the generations and produced two totally different worlds. Two totally different worlds, each one flowing out of a mind and a spirit. So in the African worldview, to begin, we see the universe as a living, interactive whole. We see that physical matter is simply the way that spirit, as Mama Marimba decided to state, is simply the way that spirit manifests itself. That everything is interconnected and holistic in the way that it engages the human experience. You're dealing with one fundamental reality, which in the Hebrew language is referred to as Yah, and in other languages is known as other things. So whereas we had this ancestral holistic perspective on the nature of reality, there were others who saw the universe as an assortment of lifeless objects, just things floating around, things which are there to be manipulated, to be utilized, to be exploited for whatever purposes came into the minds of the person doing the thinking. And these two different perspectives then impact every single other aspect, every other facet of life. So as we continue on with this chart, we will see, do you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, what we will see is, do you see the chart?
No, it's not appearing.
Okay, what you're looking at is these two different minds as they operate. One seeks harmony with nature and one seeks dominance over nature. One seeks to embrace the past, knowing that tradition implies stability. The other one has the objective of escaping the past because tradition implies stagnation. In one paradigm, education, pre-colonial African education, was centered around character development. Centered around character development, designing a mind and developing a character which would be in harmony with the environment, with the people, and with the principles upon which the society is built. But in the alternative paradigm, in the new paradigm, we see education being designed strictly for monetary gain. I'm here at the university, the students are telling me why they travel from California or Minnesota or New York or overseas even. I got a student from South Africa, and they're saying they have to come to America to learn how to get some skills which would equip them to get a job so they can go and make some money. And then that's the ultimate goal. And the spiritual content, the cultural content, the more critical areas in terms of what you learn through an education process are neglected. And the end result of that we see as the fruit in society today. One of the areas that this impacts directly is spirituality and religion. Whereas in former times we understood spirituality to be a social experience, which is actually lived in society, which is actually the element which precipitates the manner through which you govern, through which you plant, through which you reap. It dictates the methods for economic development that you use. It would influence the process of clothing, architecture, all of the different aspects of society being rooted in the spiritual values of a people was a part of the ancient African Edenic paradigm. But as time changes and as a new consciousness emerges in the earth, we switch from this holistic, lived concept of spirituality into this refined version of religion, which is solely an intellectual concept. Something to be debated about, something to be argued, something to be pontificated upon, but not necessarily to be applied as an integral part of the life experience of a people. Again, the various areas are depicted graphically on the screen, and if you go onto our TITANS online forum, I'll be uploading it as soon as this presentation is over, so that you all can see what it is that I'm referring to. Is
it possible to click on the other slide at all?
What'd you say?
Is it possible to click on the other slide?
Which is the other slide?
On the left-hand side.
On?
On the left-hand side, just click on the slides on the left.
Let me see.
Currently, it's on the second one. So you can click on the third or the fourth or the fifth, whichever. Hopefully, it should work.
Let me see. No changes?
No. So basically, you've got a main presentation, and then just the left of it, it's got slide 1, 2, 3, 4 going downwards. You click on any of those ones, see if it works.
I've done that on my screen. It's just not popping up on yours.
Okay, because what's it showing on ours is that you've got it on slide number 2.
That's interesting. Well, for sake of time, let's just continue on because, again, this will be made available very soon. Anybody will be able to see it.
Okay, no problem. Can we see your face then? Can we see your face?
Sure.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so from a spiritual, community, and family-centered paradigm, we shifted into a self-centered paradigm. The goal of my presentation is to really emphasize the fact that when we talk about subjects such as the difference between African religion and European religion, we're not talking about intellectual things to be debated about and discussed. We're talking about the methodology through which we can pursue our struggle for liberation. ultimately a people's spiritual values is what they have to return to. They have to get back to a base, a mode of operation which enables them to thrive, which is consistent with their internal makeup and would reflect in the environment. And what has happened to Africa over the course of the past, I mean, we could say 500, but you can go back 3,000 years, is a continuous onslaught of different ideals and perceptions concerning which way we need to go from here. And a major part of the objective of what I will be presenting in our more lengthy presentation will be designed to help us conceptualize the difference between these two different paradigms. It's not just two different ideas, not just two different religions, not just two different philosophies, but it's two different paradigms concerning every key aspect of life. And the more we understand that, the stronger and more well-equipped we will be when it comes to seeking to find and define our new direction. And really, just for sake of time, since this isn't the main presentation, but it serves more as an introduction, I'd like to close out with a quote from Stephen Biko, who's a South African revolutionary freedom fighter who, if you're not familiar with, you should get familiar with. And he's also the author of a book entitled I Write What I Like. Stephen Biko was very cognizant, very aware of the devastating effects that religion has had upon the African psyche. I use the term in my references, colonial hermeneutics. Hermeneutics being the methods used to interpret things, colonial referring to the era of European expansionism and conquest. During the rise of Europe, there was an accompanying European theology, a body of hermeneutical approaches to spiritual traditions, which effectively dehumanized African people and served to justify our exploitation and oppression. I refer to those analytical approaches and philosophical paradigms as colonial hermeneutics and distinguish them from redemptive hermeneutics. Redemptive being the body of knowledge centered around how to extricate a people from their condition. So when you find Marcus Garvey referencing texts from the Bible, or Malcolm X, or other freedom fighters, they're referencing a particular worldview and perspective based on an approach designed to extricate people from the problems that they're in. Stark contrast from the more modernized political or politicized mythology that has come through us through religion. What Stephen Biko said was that too many people are involved in religion for the blacks to ignore. Obviously, the only path for us now is to redefine the message in the Bible and to make it relevant to the struggling masses. Just from a practical perspective, there are too many people involved in religion now for us to ignore it, to constantly put it on the back burner and act like it's irrelevant. At some point, we have to identify methods that can be used to bring forth a redemptive understanding, an approach to the Bible wherein we can minimize the negative effects of it, an approach to the Quran, an approach to traditional African spiritual systems, which can figure out a way to incorporate these things once again into our greater objectives of restoring our African civilization. And so in the presentation to come, I'll be highlighting the evolutionary work of the Kingdom of Yah founded by the African Hebrew Israelites in Africa, utilizing redemptive hermeneutics. I'll be highlighting our contributions to the development of Ghana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Africa, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and of course, quite naturally, the great work that we're doing in Israel, unifying with the various African communities there. But for now, I'll pretty much close out this presentation with that sort of introduction into the kind of work that I do, and look forward to seeing you all again on Talk with the Titans. Thank you.
Well done, my brother. Thank you for giving us that brief introductory on your up-and-coming presentation. We're looking forward to it and excited to hear it. This is, I say he's an up-and-coming titan, but really and truly, he's a titan within his own field. If I'm correct, you are currently an educator at which university? Is it Atlanta Clark University?
It is Clark Atlanta University. Here's one of my textbooks. Here's another one. And these are the bodies of knowledge which I use to reference throughout the course of my presentations. You can check out my YouTube page, and I'm starting my blog. It'll be up and running by the time of my next presentation, New Worldview, or the New Worldview. I'm also working to establish my own publishing company. I'll be visiting South Africa later on this year to get to work with my colleagues down there on this bookstore that we're setting up and some other things of that nature. But definitely, yeah, my goal is to professionalize the approach that we use to African-centered scholarship. Well, not to professionalize it, but to continue the process of professionalizing it and advancing it into new realms by promoting an interdisciplinary approach, which weaves political science, ecological science, which has always been very important to African people, and general forms of Afro-literacy, all in a context which weaves these traditions together instead of fragmenting, compartmentalizing, and tearing them apart, as has been done after Rene Descartes and modern education.
Wow, that's fascinating. And you know what? You look so. The audience out there must be thinking, how young is this individual to be teaching Clark and at Clark Atlanta University? You know, I'm sure you've been to Africa, you've been to Israel, you've done so many amazing things at such a young age. How old are you, my brother?
Well, I'm 25 years young at the moment. I'll be turning 26 in August. And you're right, I did go to Israel. I understudied some of the scholars that we have in Israel who've been doing investigative work in terms of research and scholarship, but also a lot of liberational work in terms of unifying and organizing with the various African communities in that region. And that's something which I very look forward to discussing with you all, because there's a widespread lack of understanding concerning what exactly it is that we've been doing in Israel for the past half century. How and why we became the largest community of African Americans outside of America to permanently relocate in Africa, and how and what the role and relevance of the Bible has been in all of this. Since many of you know that it has been used to prevent us from seeking to do such things, what was the interpretive methods used to bring forth this kind of understanding within 4 generations of children now born free from the lands of the captivity?
Wow, this brother is truly an inspiration. All you young brothers and sisters out there, I know you're thinking, this guy is truly amazing, a role model. And I am so grateful, you know, to be the first person, you know, or the first show to have you on publicly. You're going to see some amazing things from this brother in the near future, and I can't wait to have him back on again to go through the breadth and length of the information he has to offer. So thank you very much, Ahneeahm Ben Israel, for this short presentation that you've given us. Okay, audience members out there, if you want to see more of these amazing young titans, just give us your referrals. Let us know who you would actually like to see on in the future. You know, there's so many titans across the world, not only in the USA, we've got some in the UK, I'm sure we've got some in the Netherlands as well. I can see you out there in the Netherlands supporting Canada, and the West Indies. So if you've got anybody, you know anyone, or you want to recommend somebody to come on, we're doing these slots where the new fresh titans could come on and let the audience be more familiar with them, and then we're going to have them doing some feature-length presentations as well. Oh, okay, so we've got brother Tae here. Brother Tae is from the UK. He's going to go in with his presentation right about now. And I'd just like to thank our brother Ahneeahm once more. So thank you, brother Ahneeahm, for coming on. We love you, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to have you on again.
Thank you. Likewise.
That's right, that's right. So shalom, shalom. Okay, so brother Tae, are you ready? Let me know, are you actually ready for this presentation?
I'm ready, bro. I'm ready.
But you know what? The real question is, are the audience members ready for this presentation that you've got in store? That's it right there. Could you just give us a brief overview of what you've got in store for us today?
Okay, basically what I'm going to be going through today is the origins of evil and in effect the devil and the effect that it has on the cognitive process of the black man and woman in this modern age, as well as the symbolic mysteries that are hidden underneath the guise of the devil. So the template of the devil is actually hiding a very deep secret that some of the scholars have touched on in the past, but I just want to expound upon and offer my insights on what I've found from my studies.
Okay. Wow. All right. And you know, for the audience members out there, I'm just reading the you know, the comment section. What you've got to say. I'm going to be reading them out very shortly as well. I'd just like everybody to know we've got the brother Zion Lex, polite prosecutor, coming into the studios, you know, very soon. He's going to be giving us a presentation on his book. I know we're going to have to ask those sneaky questions about Kemet on trial. We need to figure out more, of these behind-the-scene movements. Hopefully it doesn't get too heated, but we already know what it's going to be. This is Zion Lex we're talking about. This Titan is so phenomenal. So he's got his new book out. It was written as it was engraved. You have to check him out. He's on Facebook. Type in Zion Lex. Check out this brother. Hebrew War Machine. Stand up. So call me a Sha'ala. But brother Tae, all right, I know I've got your presentation right here. So hopefully I'm going to be gone. You won't be able to see me for a little while because the brother's going to be presenting and it's going to be showing from my screen. But I'm going to quickly say, if you haven't already subscribed, just hit that subscribe button up here, or you can literally just hit that subscribe button down below as well. You know what? The reason why we want you to subscribe to this show is we're trying to build the largest, the greatest, field of people that are ready to be the world changers, ready to, take in this new information, adapt into their life, and mold themselves around it, and be able to affect change in the world. Okay, this information has truly helped a whole host of people so far. I've heard, in the comment section saying, I've got my 11-year-old, brother, 11-year-old child looking in right now to see the show, because we appreciate the fact that there is no swearing on the show. It's a family-friendly, orientated show. So we pride ourselves on being family-friendly and creating a legacy that our children can grow up and be familiar with this information and grow in consciousness. Because a lot of times, the adults might be conscious, but because the children don't actually see that consciousness in a very fun and enlightening and a way that they can accept, they usually go up and do their own thing. So we're trying to encourage the whole family just to sit down in front of the TV, put it on the TV or put it on the YouTube, whatever the case may be, watch it. I know some of you are sitting down right now in front of your Xbox and PlayStations and watching it live as well. So we appreciate all of that. We appreciate all of our subscribers all the way in Australia, Thailand, Japan, all across the world, throughout Europe, Netherlands, Germany, Africa, Uganda, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. So we thank you for supporting us and subscribing to us, and always hitting that big like button as well. So we thank you and we appreciate you. So thanks for the support so far. So, my brother, I'm going to just pull up your presentation right now. And we're about to go in. Oh yeah, let me just hit that share button. So please also, audience members out there, leave your comments as well. We would like to hear what you've got to say, and let me know how these new up-and-coming rising titans are doing. Okay, so here we go. So brother Tae, could you just start it off for us?
Okay, so we're going to be discussing today in this presentation who and what is the devil. So I'm going to start from the first slide. Okay, so we're looking at who and what is the devil. We're pinpointing the origins of fear and its hidden mysteries. Now, has the slide changed? Oh, lovely. So throughout this presentation, we're going to be going through various different points, but the two main points that I want us all to focus on throughout the presentation is what effect does the belief in a devil have on the divine mind. So first of all, we're looking at the divine mind as what other people would call Allah, Brahma, Yahweh, Zeus, whatever your religious system is. We're looking at that as the divine substance or the divine mind. And what believing in a god or a devil actually does, it actually applies the template of separation to an extremely pure and balanced force. So you actually provide the concept of separation to it. As well as that, we're going to be looking at the devil in its modern perpetuation is a relatively young concept in relation to the divine history of our ancestors. So it's pretty straightforward. We're scared of something that's actually younger than us in years. And we're going to go into the slide and see why each presentation of the devil is a very, very young concept in relation to conscious people, Moors, Hebrew Israelites, people from the Kemetic community. All of these different people, we all claim to have an extremely old bloodline. But if we're all scared of a devil or a concept that is thousands of years younger, then what are we really saying about ourselves? Is either that we don't know the information that we're trying to put out there, or we don't believe it. So go on to the next slide, bro. This is a list of the sources and the bibliography that I've used to put the slide together. The slide's going to be downloadable on the website, on my website tomorrow, so you can take a look at all of these books and buy them for yourself and study them if you feel the need to. So first, who was the first devil? We need to look at it from the perspective of looking at a timeline. I want to keep the timeline very simple, because if you go into too much detail, it gets difficult to actually distinguish what's going on. So with basic timelines, you can distinguish when we manifested our first spiritual system, which can be defined as a stellar mythos, where we used observation to base our own spiritual concepts and link them to our own minds. And the minimum commence of this was 2.5 million years ago. And then all of this stuff is proven as well. The Neolithic age, 10,200 years ago, which people would say was the pre-dynastic portion of Egypt, leading through all the dynasties. Then we've got Zoroastrianism, which was historically recorded around 440 BC. Zoroastrianism was around prior to 440 BC, but this is 440 BC was when all of the scholars at the time started becoming hip to it and started putting it in their writings. We also know that the Bible was compiled in 170 AD and 235 AD. So between that time, the Bible was compiled in its Hebraic form as far as to the masses of the planet. And everyone knows the Quran was completed around 632 AD. So by timelines and the religious texts is sort of suggesting that man and woman had no conception of evil and by effect good until the year of at least 170 AD. So our task is to unravel the concepts of the devil during the early periods in our indigenous history. What you're looking at now is images of burial practices practiced 20,000 to 100,000 years ago in both Cornwall and Australia. But what's interesting and significant about these photos is the position that they were buried in. Because remember, if we're taking into account that this was 22,000 years ago, there was no Islam, there was no Christianity, there was no Zoroastrianism, there wasn't even a Kemetic system in the same way that we know it in terms of Asar and Isis and all these different deities. What we're looking at is the stellar mythos in its earliest form. The faces were pointed towards the north because of the stellar mythos in terms of the North Star, or that the North Pole being a star representing stability, and we built a whole mythos around that. The thrice bent position is also very significant to the people that understand masonry and how the fetus forms in the stomach. So plates actually from the book Science and Symbols of the Primordial Man, which I've used throughout this presentation, but this is just to show that prior to any religion being in existence, there were already spiritual concepts in play all around the planet, because Cornwall and Australia are on completely different sides of the planet. Next slide. The birth of the first devil. If you want to just cast your vision to the top right hand corner, you can see the key. UDS stands for undifferentiated divine substance, and DS stands for differentiated substance. So this is going to be in reference to the master creator, the most high, Allah, Brahma, whatever you want to call it. But this is the creator in its state of complete balance. So there is no dark, there is no light, fat, skinny, small, no planets, no stars, nothing. It is just void. It's a dark, it's substance. That's it, potential. So from the understanding of the ancients, we find that the beginnings of this perceivable reality are both birthed and incubated within this divine substance of all, aka Yahweh, Allah, Brahma, Zeus. In its undifferentiated state, it was neither pure good nor pure evil, but contained all potentialities for every possible expressible outcome. It can be suggested from a scientific standpoint that the UDS would resonate on one frequency, expelling the possibility of duality. This is the scientific representation of my art, equal and balance, equal in zero duality. So the people that are into particle physics and astrophysics know that they've built that massive machine in Switzerland, that Hadron Collider, and they're actually trying to mimic the environment of galactic halos, because this is where all the dark energy is concentrated. So you have the galaxy, and as the spiral arms go out, there's this black ring that surrounds the galaxy, and this is what they call the galactic halo. And this is where the largest amount of dark energy is located, and they're trying to mimic the environment of this dark energy by bringing its temperature down to a perfect zero, which automatically lines up with the one frequency, because if things are one balanced temperature, the absence of temperature automatically gives balance. There is a possibility for hot or cold. It's just complete stability. Obviously, they can't replicate this environment perfectly, but they're getting very close. So the mere fact that we are conscious beings shows that the UDS contain the potentiality of consciousness, which is vibration, which is synonymous with heat, which is synonymous with awareness, which is associated with curiosity and introspection, thus giving birth to duality. Because as we create in, out is automatically created by default. So if you're introspecting, you're looking within. But if you're looking within, then there must be an outside. Now, in that instant, the realization that the UDS is now differentiated in terms of degree and frequency, because if everything is at one level, if everything is completely balanced, the moment one thought becomes manifest, or one idea becomes manifest in terms of you perceiving in, or in being a possibility, there's now a differentiation between the substance. So this parallels perfectly with the formula of Ein Sof for those that deal with Kabbalah as well. So all that being said, the only way of identifying these pre-atomic modalities would be by the means of language. Without it, they remain a series of vibrations only sensed by the first beings on this planet. So we're basically saying the only way that all of these concepts are being translated down by generations and different cultures is because language. We created language to make these ideas, these concepts transferable. Without it, you would know no God, you would know no Yahweh, you wouldn't know Allah, devil. There would be no such thing, because language and symbols are synonymous with each other. We communicated with symbols before we spoke. We didn't speak verbally until very late down the line. It was all about symbology, and we used the most important things around us in our direct environment, and these were the early symbols. So when you see early symbols like the axe and the hammer and all of these kind of things, they're showing status, because if we're looking at it from the perspective of all of us are in the outback of Africa, we're all in the wilderness, everybody's unarmed, a bear walks into the room or a crocodile walks into the room, the man who has the axe is God. It's simple as that. And this is what we need to start simplifying our mindset when we look at history, because we're looking at a time when there was no TV, there was no Instagram, YouTube, Ferraris, any of these things. It was very simple, and animals could and still will kill you. So let's move on, bro.
Okay, real quickly.
Cool.
For all those who are watching right now live with us, I've left you a little treat down below in the description box. So just check it right now in the description box. I've left you a little treat. So if you want to be on the panel right now, just hit that little link in the description box, and we're going to invite you in to this live chat that we're having. Obviously, just wait for our presenter to finish, and then you can ask him any questions that you would like. So instead of typing it on the YouTube, just hit that link and you'll be right here, and you can ask your questions live and direct in front of our presenter. Also, if you're enjoying the information that you've heard from our brother Ahneeahm Ben Israel, and you're enjoying the information that you've heard so far through our brother Tae Campbell from the UK, just give us a big thumbs up. Let us know that you're enjoying it. You know, we're about to go in, we're about to shift gear and really get into this presentation right now. So be prepared. Okay, so my brother Tae, I'm gonna literally put it right back to you. I'm gonna get the presentation back up again. And also, if you're new to Talk with the Titans, just hit that subscribe button just up there and subscribe to us. We've got a whole host of Titans. You can also check our Talk with the Titans playlist. We've got past shows that you can watch: Gorilla Hebrew, Shaka Ahmos, Dr. Ali Muhammad, Asar Imhotep, the Amun Ra Squad, the Magi, Jonathan Owens, Punka Keck, Divine Prospect, Brother Israel Doctrine, etc. You know what, the list goes on. So if you want to check out our past shows, you know, hit that subscribe button and go to the playlist and check them out. Also, You can also check out in our Butter section to find out more that we have in store for you as well with Talk with the Titans. We're trying to work with businesses. We're trying to work with businesses. We're trying to promote these businesses. We're also trying to get the Titans from the US over into the UK to do some wonderful shows. We've got something in the woodworks lined up as well. So stay tuned. You're going to see some of these Titans from the UK visiting the US as well. And also, you know what? I'm not going to say nothing more. I'm not going to say nothing more. Just stay tuned. You're going to see something that you've never seen before very soon in the next 6 weeks. I'm just putting it out there, everybody. I'm just putting it out there. So, you know, if you're new to this channel, or if you've got friends that know about this channel, just hit that share button, let everybody know. Literally, just go down below, hit the share button. It takes you to Facebook, takes you to Twitter, takes you to Google Plus. Let everybody know that we are live right now. I see we have our first callers calling in, you know, or coming into the panel from the YouTube. I'm also going to post it out. You know what? I'm going to post it right now. I'm going to post out, as we're speaking right now, I'm going to post to our top YouTube supporters. So top YouTube supporters, I'm about to share you this link. So just check your Google Plus account and you'll be able to join in right now. I can see it all going mad on the YouTube right now. So I'm going to let my brother continue. Let me share my screen. Enough of me talking. Okay. Just give me 1 second and take over, my brother.
Cool. So yeah, let's go on to the next slide. So we're going to look at Set, aka Sut, aka Shut, and the birth of duality. So as we know, we created language, and as our bodies are composed of various elements and chemicals which are also measured by dualistic concepts, i.e. atomic number, pounds, volts, etc., our very being is confined to a template of polar extremes, which we apply to our perception of said UDS. So basically, we see it in myths. Our creator fights a sinister foe, an eternal battle is waged with one victor. These give birth to terms such as omnibenevolence, omnipotent. Just we're assuming the beginning state of this undifferentiated substance. So in the Zoroastrianism could be seen as one of the first instances where evil, aka Druj, was clearly defined, and this led on to the present-day Judeo-Islamic conception of the creator, of that of a loving parent who has blessed us with the gift of life, which both have positive connotations attached to them. So by default, we're presuming that this UDS is/was pure good. Thus, in that very instant, the UDS is now differentiated by virtue of it being good, which now creates the possibility for a devil. It creates the possibility of evil because there is a distinguished frequency which in itself gives birth to duality. So think of it like this, people. If there's one substance to begin with, there's nothing else. This is the Most High, this is the Creator in its pure potential form. But the potentiality for curiosity and consciousness already exists within this. So that means it already creates the possibility of being able to look within itself. In that instant, it separates itself, not physically, as in two parts are broken up, but in degree. There's an aspect of itself that has now slowed down in relation to the first undifferentiated frequency. So, Set was not always seen as evil, and in early myths was seen as an ally of Ra. That's from Ancient Egyptian Legends by M.A. Murray, 1920. In addition to this, on analysis of the atomic composition of matter and its elements, it is fair to say that if the first differentiated substance, aka Set, was a lower frequency, which would be more dense in its pre-atomic structure, we're seeing the very early formations of life down the tree of emanations to mundane reality, which then gives birth to macrocosmic man. And there's a quote from ancient Egyptian, Supernatural Soul in Ancient Egypt. It says, though he is a royal kingsman, he has the personality of a man of the people. Also another quote, a clearly defined God or Satan was not always in existence. That's page 86, Indian mythology. The earliest Judaic scriptures are not concerned with the idea of evil. That's page 87 of Indian mythology. So we're going to go on to the next slide and keep it moving. Okay, what we're looking at here is a picture of Set Haru, a symbol representing the intimate connection between the two supposed opposing polarities of reality. Both Set and Haru the gene exists within us. If you read Judy K. King's Isis Thesis, it's a very in-depth scientific explanation of how Horus and Set, or God and the devil, are genes that exist within the body, and Set is the actual gene that keeps humanity recreating itself, and it's actually repressing the Heru, or the divine, or the Christos, or the Yahabasha aspect of self. So when I've just spoken about the undifferentiated frequency, both being both, having the potentialities for both good and evil, this is a perfect example of it. You're seeing at the front the head of good, so to speak, and the head of evil at the back. Next slide, please, bro. Is the devil pure evil? Evil and fear go hand in hand, and it is not until we identify the modus operandi of fear within our own compositions that we will realize that any oppressor would benefit from keeping the people scared of the devil, which in modern society is symbolized as a goat and or serpent. Now, for the mystery. If you are beaten into believing that the cause of all yours and everybody else's misery stems from a goat, man / serpent, what effect does that have on the cognition of modern man? We will now break down some of the aspects of the current conception of the devil, i.e. red skin, symbolic of the lowest perceivable frequency in terms of particle physics. We know that red is the lowest vibration. It's symbolic of primal urges, lust, hunger, aggression, and also associated with the root chakra in Kushite, aka Moorish, Hebrew Israelite mythology. The serpent caused Eve to eat the apple in the mythos, the fall of mankind, automatically demonizing Ophidian culture, which is widely accepted around all parts of the globe, Olmecan culture, African culture, and so on and so forth. Legs of a beast, representing the lower or more gross aspect of man. Many devils or serpents throughout history have resided in underground domains. Next slide, please, bro. So we're just going to look at some of the deities throughout history in different cultures and different timelines whose story mimics this same pattern, because we're all coming from one specific source. So if one religion's right, then by default, nobody else should have the same concept. Let's just start with a simple one. Devil lives in hell, a place beneath us. Typhoeus lives in Arami and also lives beneath the body of Mount Etna. It has the legs of the serpent and depicted as a black figure. Shakti, buried asleep in the root chakra, coiled up 3.5 times. She is a serpent goddess from India. Sekhmet, although in the form of a lioness, she is also put to sleep with a red bear and falls asleep in a field. She is too charged with the destruction of humanity. Are we seeing the pattern starting to re-emerge itself already? Yeah. Next slide. In the top left-hand corner, you're looking at Typhoeus of Arami, obviously with the serpent legs and serpent fingers, a black man, obviously with wings. So you're seeing this is the early stages of the demonizing of the Ophidian cult of serpent symbology and our true power. On the right-hand side, we're looking at Zoroastrian art, which is a obvious, not plagiarization, we should say it has heavy ancient Egyptian undertones in terms of presentation, symbolism, so on and so forth. Below that, in the bottom left, is another form of Zoroastrian art on a plaque in Shaknakar in Iran. If we look on the top of the pillars, we can see two bulls surmounted on the top of them. So we're already seeing the horned deities held in high regard at this specific time. This was, as obviously as stated earlier, 440 BC and onwards. Next slide. Pan from Greco-Roman mythology, deity of fertility. Next slide. Ikenga of the Igbo people, synonymous with victory, success, and power. Next slide. Serenos of Celtic mythology, horned deity of nature and fertility, revered in Europe and Celtic culture. Next slide. Krampus. Now, this is an extremely interesting depiction of the same horned devil template, because what obviously in the US and in the UK, the story of Christmas that we get is that Santa Claus gives good presents to good children, and if they're bad, they get a lump of coal. In Bavaria, in Germany, if the children are bad, they get a visit from this deity here. So it shows the demonization of this specific archetype, and we've seen a number of horned deities throughout different cultures, our cultures, that are already in working and already seen in high regard. But when we get to the European cultures, this is when we see the demonization. You can look up Krampus for yourself. Next slide. Nidhogg lies under the earth and gnaws at the roots of Yggdrasil. Hydra lives under the ocean and defeated by Hercules in the second labor of the Tuat. Apep, also a serpent from ancient Egyptian culture. Dar from African culture, called up 3,500 times, exactly the same as Shakti. Ymorgund from Norse mythology was a sibling of Hel, who was given charge of the underworld. So we're already seeing how the idea of hell and the devil and serpents were already in play before these religions came into play. We've looked at Krampus and Pan as well. But Khnum is when we start to understand the true symbolism, because Khnum was a pre-dynastic deity. So this was pre-Neolithic age Khnum was coming out of. So this was earlier than 10,000 years ago, and it was a deity that was charged with the creation of man, was called the father of all fathers, as well as other things. And we're looking at Asar as well, symbolized as a bull. Next slide. Devil facts. The word evil in Latin is malum, which also has the same root for the word black, which is melas. So we're looking at an attack on archetypes, not on the physical body at this point. It's an attack, because once you break down the mind, the body cannot defend itself. So if we're going to be associated with black, and anybody that studies psychology or psychotherapy understand the mind works through association. So using the word melas and malum, we're automatically associating ourselves with evil, basically. And that's how people are viewing us, and that is affecting our self-image and our self-worth. The word devil is not a name in its common sense. It is more of a title or a description of attributes. It is translated from the Latin word for slanderer. Lucifer, light bringer, is only mentioned once in the Hebrew Bible. Hallel, the Hebraic transliteration of the same word, shining one or morning, mentioned once in the form of the Bible. Satan, that is means adversary or accuser, only mentioned 13 times in the Bible. The devil in itself is not described at all in the Bible. So I've compared it. So imagine you watching the Matrix trilogy and Agent Smith only appearing 3 times throughout the entire film. The whole dynamic of the film is going to change, because if religion is about the struggle between good and evil, what happens when we remove the idea of evil? Next slide. This is Anton LaVey's Church of Satan logo. The Satanic Bible was only published in 1969, so the logo is a more recent addition to the idea of spiritual fear perpetuated by the religious institutions in the media. The logo was only copyrighted in 1990. We're taking into account that we've been on this planet for a minimum of 2.5 million years. So why are we getting scared about something that was created within our lifespan? Next slide. Now, this is a very, very famous image in that a lot of people, it strikes fear into a lot of people, whether they're religious or spiritual. The birth of the Baphomet was in the 19th century, aka the 1800s, and was depicted by Eliphas Levi. The one on the right is Eliphas Levi's depiction of the Baphomet. He only did this because he wanted to sell books. And the even more interesting thing about it is that the name is the Goat of Mendes. If you look at the bottom, you can see the same name, the Goat of Mendes. It's nothing more than a play on ancient African culture. The Ram of Mendes is in ancient Egypt, aka Kemet, aka Tamar, whatever you want to call it. To go further, if you want to get a book called Sacred Tarot by C.C. Zane, you'll find that the tarot cards were actually on the walls inside the pyramids. Anybody that's been to Egypt and been inside the pyramids knows that the walls are completely cemented over. What they found when they went into the pyramids originally was platelets, huge platelets of all of the tarot cards depicted on the wall with their astrological correspondences and so on and so forth. Notice the difference between the shape of the horns. We're going to see the significance of that later on down the line. But as far as all that you need to know at this point is that this actual depiction of the devil isn't even 500 years old. So, who was the earliest recognized horned deity with a traceable mythology? And below it, you can see images of Nidhogg and Hydra. Next slide. Khnum, true power disguised as evil. As we have seen, horned deities have been commonly associated with fertility, which is synonymous with procreation and childbirth. But what is fascinating is that the mythology of Khnum lines up with the formation of the fetus, and the divine family of Khnum provide a cryptic description of the inner workings of the brain. He was worshipped in pre-dynastic Egypt and was said to create man on the potter's wheel, i.e. a spinning motion, which is synonymous with atoms for those that deal with particle physics. He was also associated with the Nile River, which is symbolic of the neural tube, aka the spine and the spinal fluid. It is also interesting to cite that the neural tube also gives birth to the beginnings of the midbrain, where the campus resides. This makes the portion of the fetus a creator in the sense that it predisposes all other limbs. So in order for you to have arms, fingers, legs, toes, and genitals, you have to have a midbrain formed. You're not going to be able to have eyes and a nose without these things. Next slide. Now take a look at this. The image on the right, on the left, sorry, is a stripped down image of your brain. This is inside of everybody's heads. We've taken away the right, left and right hemispheres and the crux fornix and all the other added parts of the midbrain, and we've stripped it down to the bare hypothalamus, amygdaloid bodies, and the hippocampus, brainstem, and pons, and so on and so forth. But what you can see, if you can see with your own eyes, the two depictions look identical. The hippocampal horns and Khnum's horns are the same. The actual shape of the midbrain is the same. And it's significant to understand why this is important as we go on through the slide. But we just bear in mind the hippocampus is associated with long-term memory. So without this part of your body, there's no learning. Next slide, bro. Feel like a reach? Let us identify and briefly examine the family of Khnum and remove the shadow of doubt. Next slide. Shatet, wife of Khnum, queen of the hunt, goddess of the now, aka spinal cord and fluid, can be seen as a representation of the medulla oblongata located in the brainstem, which controls breathing. Take into account, Khnum was a pre-dynastic deity revered when man used power and skill to hunt. It also controls heart function and blood vessel function, body movement and coordination, all vital for hunting. She was also horned in some depictions, which shows her link, which you'll see in the next slide.
Damn, my brother, I'm gonna say slow down. You're killing them right now.
Bro, I'm trying to go as slow as possible, but because time's against us, I just want to.
I'm not even talking about
get to the end, so people
the speed of your presentation. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the depth of the presentation right about now. I swear down, nobody has broken down the devil the way that you're breaking on the devil right now. I'm telling you this from now. So wait, let me just get this real correct. You're telling me that the concept of the devil only originated roughly 170 AD?
Yeah. So when we're looking at the Baphomet and the devil are two completely different beings. The Baphomet is not mentioned in the Bible once. There's nobody that can tell me that. No Muslim or Christian or Jew can tell me that Baphomet. It's not mentioned in it. And they'll say, oh, the Templars dealt with the Baphomet. The Templars were guards of a lot of fraternal societies that stole things out of ancient Egypt. So if they're worshipping anything, they're worshipping African deities. They're worshipping things like Khnum. But they're not going to tell you that because they know the true power. They know what happens when you gain access to the hippocampus. This is what 33rd degree masonry is all about. The pons, the medulla oblongata, the midbrain exist beyond the 33rd vertebrae. That is the top bone at the top of your spine. If you put these two fingers at the back of your neck, the top bone is the 33rd vertebrae. Beyond that goes into the brainstem, pons, superior colliculus, inferior colliculus. These are all extremely mystic chakras. That's a presentation for another time, but for now, we're focusing on the birth of the devil.
Wow. And listen, you know what? I think I need to start getting some Masons into the studios. I don't know. I don't know if everybody are ready for the Masons when the Masons appear, because you're going into some deep, mystical, occultic information, you know, that only an initiated few are privy to. So it's going to be very exciting. I don't know, where should I even get these Masons from? Should I get them from the UK or should I get them from the USA? If you've got any Masons, friends, family members, or you belong to the fraternal order itself, let me know if you want to come on to the studio and present some information. If you are a Master Mason, or you've traveled up the York Rite or the Scottish Rite, and you're now currently sitting on the consistory or sitting on as a 33-degree Master Mason, I would love to have you in the studio. I would love to have you in the studio, giving us a breakdown of Freemasonry. And is it related to the Illuminati at all, or is that a separate, you know, fraternal order? Just like the Skull and Bones that we've heard so much about, is that related to Freemasonry, or is it a separate order? Also, are these, you know, friendly organizations? Can anybody join, like the Boy Scouts? Or is this, you know, very dark and secretive and mystical? I would really love for someone to come on from Masons to come on and give us a breakdown. Moors as well, come on and give us a breakdown. So yeah, brother, please continue with this information. I know you've been to Egypt as well, you know, and you've seen most of these things that you're talking about. You've got some incredible knowledge on the biology of the human being. If I'm not mistaken, you actually, you know, own a company that deals with yoga and masseuse, etc. So could you give me a little quick breakdown on that?
Yeah, basically I run a holistic therapy organization that offers yoga classes, both private and group, to the community. I also have staff that go out and give in-home massage therapies and offer pampering parties to people. But what the organization is really about is about bringing Kundalini methodology to the forefront, because this, hands down, is the answer in terms of the spiritual aspect. Obviously, there are things that has to be done on a mundane level, but Kundalini, it's like you turn yourself into a walking weapon. I'm gonna have to. That's so much to go into, so I'm not gonna delve into that now. But
You're trying
I'm
to
telling
blow
you,
everybody's mind right now. I need to slow you down on that. I don't know if the audience are ready, or audience members, are you ready to hear this information? Leave your comments down below or to the side. Let us know if you're ready for this information. Furthermore, let us know that you're enjoying this information. Give us a big thumbs up. You know, if you've got any questions for the brother, we're literally going to go into the latter half of the show. You can ask questions. So if you've got any questions for the brother, please type them away right now as we speak. I'm going to slow down. Please just type them up right now, and I'm going to read them out and ask the brother the questions, you know, citing your name as well. Brother, let me actually go back into the presentation.
cool.
Let me go back into the presentation right now, share the screen. And get everybody back on track. Wow. You know, you're killing them right now, you know. Okay. Okay, bear with me. Bear with me, bear with me. Okay. Okay. Just bear with me 1 second. Hopefully it'll be back up. Can you see the presentation at all? I don't know if something's gone wrong. Okay, bro, please continue with your presentation, and we're going to try to fix that problem real soonish.
What page was we at? The Sataf.
We're on page number 24.
In fact, I've got my one. Hold on 2 seconds.
Okay. Can you see the slide?
24,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So. Okay. Satet wife. So we've gone through what Satet was symbolic of. I really want them to see the imagery associated with. Okay, so we can say. I think go back one slide, bro. Yeah, we've gone a bit far ahead. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. The next, yeah, the one with the picture. Next one. that one, yeah, that one there. Okay, so notice the horns above both representations. Satet would be located just below the two horns, or the trigeminal nerve on the left image. So she isn't actually the horns themselves, she's the meaty part below it, the slim stem below it. Satet as the medulla would be located below the horns, just as her crown is depicted on the right. If you look at the right picture, we can see a depiction of the trigeminal nerves on top of the crown of Satet. The trigeminal nerve is the fifth cranial nerve and deals with the sensation in the face and motor functions, biting and chewing as well. The 12 or 13 cranial nerves is extremely significant once you understand the 12 tribes of Asar, the 12 tribes of Hercules, and what the hours represent. So we're going to go to the next slide. There's actually a 13th nerve as well, that's vestigial or dormant in the body, which is a whole nother conversation. So we're going to go further. The Grand Master Mason between Khnum and Satet. So for all the people that say, oh, Masonry is Jewish and it's white people and it's evil, you're looking at Masonry right there on the walls of ancient Africa, and this is a matter of fact. I'm going to answer Brother Malik Shillar's question in a little bit. I'm just going to go through this real quick. So we already know it's a Grand Master Mason by the apron, the color. All the Masons, all the builders of the temple that are watching already know what it is. It's from page 485 from Signs and Symbols of the Primordial Man, drawn by Faulkner. This the relief that they stole this off is actually destroyed, because they, like I said, this grade of information, it cannot be out there. So if what I'm saying is wrong, what is the significance of a Grand Master being presented to Khnum with the Atef crown at this point by Satet as well? And those who understand signs and whatnot, you know what sign Satet is making in terms of her station, and Khnum is making a Masonic gesture as well. So we're going to go to the next slide. Anket, the daughter of Khnum, associated with the lower cataracts and everything south of the border. She was a symbolic representation of the Gracie tubercle, which is also known as the lower brain stem. It processes the sensations of the lower body, including the sexual organs, and processes pain, touch, and other sensations. Her name literally means to embrace. Embrace is synonymous with touch. So everything I'm saying can't be coincidence. And we're formulating these ideas and concepts 10,000 years ago, before quote unquote microscopes or anything like that existed. So she was also seen as a personification of the now obviously being a part of the brainstem, but was later associated with lust. So this is another level of the distortion and the bastardization of our ancient concepts. Because for those that are familiar with the terminology where thought goes, energy flows, it's exactly that. If we have a pristine concept, divine and every right, sacred, as soon as someone applies their lower frequency thoughts to it, it starts to slow down the frequency and corrupt it. That's why I asked the question in the last presentation about the Orisha's power to being depleted, because people are using them for corrupt means. Next slide. Menet, another wife of Khnum, one of the 12 Netta in the 9th hour of the Tuat that give Asar power when they utter the spell. So this is to say, once their frequency is known, you're able to use their powers, which is, again, another subject. This is symbolic of the pons, which deals with the intensity of breath, which parallels with her being linked with the northern winds, as well as biting, chewing, and reflexes. So you're seeing a bleed over from the different wives of Khnum. They all represent different aspects of the same thing. Next slide. Heket, wife of Khnum again, present at every childbirth, breathed life into the baby itself. This is a later representation of her being symbolized as the brainstem itself, in which the lower portion controls the lungs. So we're seeing what the undertones that we're seeing repeated throughout Khnum's mythology is breath and water. The significance of understanding why breath is so important. When you're dealing with Kundalini, breath is everything. The reason why we're dealing with a lot of illnesses within our community, because a lot of us aren't even breathing right. It's as simple as that. Many of my students, not even many, all of my students come in breathing incorrectly. When you deal with Kundalini methodology, when you want to unlock chakras, it all deals with how you master your breath, because your mind is synonymous with your breath. Your mind mimics your breath. If your breath is weak and shallow, your mind's going to follow suit. Heket had a son called Hekar. Next slide. Hekar with the Heru on the left. The son of Kunum originates in the brainstem, and Hekar literally means magic, which is synonymous with medicine and synonymous with healing, which suggests a strong link to the thymus, which produces T cells and controls the immune system. So this is how you get better. He also wears the Heru lock, which is symbolic of the vagus nerve. So all the people that are getting onto Shaka Atmo saying, oh, his Heru lock is this and that and it's weird, that's cool and that, but do you know what its biological counterpart means? Even if Shaka Atmos doesn't know himself, the Heru lock is symbolic of the vagus nerve. If you look up the Amponta Kai statue, it's on Google everywhere. It depicts a young boy with a Heru lock standing on top of two alligators holding vipers, a kudu in one hand, and a cheetah and scorpions in the other hand. Extremely symbolic picture, but only the true initiated, the true mages, people that are really in this conscious path to transcend humanity, will understand what it means. He's also pointing to his mouth, showing that his source of power is breath or vibration. Is also making another Masonic sign, which I won't go into. Next slide. So, in conclusion, we now understand that the concept of evil being in an individualized form, i.e. the devil, is an extremely new and distorted concept. And when decoding the signs and symbols, we find that what is now painted as the devil is one of the biggest keys to unlocking the mysteries of both our spiritual and physical liberation. The Kundalini energy fully awakened provides the fuel to manifest this outcome. The hippocampus not only holds the memories of your entire life, but in its mystical application, the memories of all past masters that have walked this earth since the beginning of time. To wield this power is to know in detail the hidden workings of this universe and therefore how to transcend it. Next slide. I just want to end up with a quick statement for the people that want to hold on to the belief of the devil and remain scared of it. There is no evil other than that which resides in the heart of man. To believe in a devil external to yourself is to accept that you are not strong enough to face your own imperfections. And that is that. Thank you very much for listening, people. I appreciate that, bro.
Wow, 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 wow. Hey, my brother. You know, yeah, there's more that meets the eye, you know. Sometimes when you speak to certain brothers, you don't understand, you know, you're completely, you know, underwhelmed with the extent of knowledge, experience, and the journey that an individual has taken throughout their lifetime. Our brother today has just given us, you know, such intriguing information, such insight into not only, you know, the Kemetic, indigenous Kemetic worldview, but also Masonic worldview as well. And, you know, and even, dare I say, even into the mysticism, you know, Kabbalism, etc. You know, he's gone into something quite, you know, some profound detail of some stuff that makes me, you know, it's got me quite curious to know, you know, what different types of walks he's been through, what different initiatic experiences or initiatic schools that he's a member of, because he's just dropped on a boatload of information. I would say he's been dropping bombs right about now. So if you've got any question for this brother, please, you know, type them away in the YouTube right now. You know, type them away. I'm gonna ask those questions to the brother. And I'm sitting back in awe. And all I gotta say right now is UK stand up. UK stand up. Are you listening to our brothers in the UK? Can the US come close to these brothers? I don't know, you know. I'm trying to start this US-UK, you know, battle going on and see what's going to take place with it, because our UK brothers are on a level, you know. let me just keep my mouth quiet right now. Okay. Um, so first question here we've got from Malik. I don't know if it's Chilla or Killer, but Malik Chilla. Brother, this is my question. Did we get the devil concept from the reptilians that is running this planet? That's the closest thing to a devil I know about. That is from Malik Chilla. Someone, brother Tae.
Like, I just want to, like, I just take into consideration the way I answer these questions. I'm not trying to be rude or arrogant, but I have to just get straight to the point. Yeah. So as far as these reptilians that are like, where are they? Where are they? Because there's like 13-foot lizards walking around where they're doing what? All of these concepts are distortions of old mythologies. What we're looking at is mythology, and we're trying to make it human. There are no reptilians running the planet. Now, this is what I'm saying. If we're supposed to be all of this ancient god, this titans, this immortals, how are we saying 13-foot reptilians are stronger than us? If we created them, even if there was a 15-foot reptilian in your vicinity right now, and I've just explained to you how our consciousness was present before the universe existed, that shouldn't even be a problem. No, reptilians do not run the world. You run your world. You run your world. And I've already spoken about how the idea of reptilian, like in actuality, you're the true reptilian. I'm the true reptilian. We are manifestations of Shakti, which is a serpent, Ophidian culture. If you read Kenneth Grant's book, Beyond the Mauve Zone, which is 550 pounds at this point, you'll find a very large amount of information on serpent culture. Like, there's reptilians, they haven't got no power at this point. They own, if you want reptilians to be real for you, they will be real for you, and you're giving away your power. There's no need to do that at all. At all.
Well said, my brother. Well said. If you start looking outside of yourself for the devil, you're always going to be subjected by a force that you perceive to be more superior than yourself. But if you start, internalizing these archetypes and concepts and know that they're all inside of you, it empowers you in a way, I would say. It would empower me to know that I'm more powerful than any external forces. So I like that. I like the way you think. We've got panel members here that's joined in from the YouTube as well, joined in from Google Plus. So I'm going to open up some mics very shortly. So if you've got any questions,
It's locked off, bro. I can't even hear you.
you was talking about these signs in Masonry that these Egyptian deities or concepts or principles within nature were doing. Could you give us some more insight on that?
Okay. Obviously, I don't want to disrespect anybody's oath and whatnot, so I won't go too deep into it. But people that understand yoga or do qigong or anything like that understand the flow of qi. Obviously, when you're seeing an arm, so sometimes you'll see an arm like this, you have to take into account the degree. When you have to look at where they're pointing to, look at the degree that the arm is bent at, and use that as a sort of inclination to direct your thought. As well as that, there are specific points of the body where qi flows. If you get these two fingers, put it in this portion of your elbow here, straighten your arm, and I want everybody to tell me what they feel. If you're gonna, well, everybody, if you're doing it right, you get it right on the corner here, and straighten the arm, and you should feel a slight pulse. That is one of your qi channels. They're on both sides of the back of the leg. They go up the carotid arteries. When you see Masons making these different signs and different passes, all they're doing is mimic, because a lot of them don't even actually know the deeper mysteries, because they weren't spoken or written down. These were things that you had to know as initiates. So it's all to do with the flow of chi and the exact degree of specific stations or power zones in the body that can be manipulated once you get control of your consciousness through mastering your breath.
Okay, I've got another question here from the YouTube. I'm going to answer a few more of these questions before we close up, because we've literally reached kind of the end of the show. It says here from the brother, who we've got here, brother Yashar. He asks, Calvin, ask the brother, who is Satan? And if he doesn't believe he exists, why did he appear in the book of Job as a very real individual? And that is from the brother Yashar.
Okay, so as we saw, we already cited that the name Satan appeared only 13 times in the Bible. And obviously the Bible is more than one book. It's not just Job. As I said, if the book is predicated upon the struggle with evil, the mention of Satan once in Job as a very real person, that's not significant enough for me to bet my soul on it. And that's fine for all the religious people that are listening, that's fine, but it still isn't enough. And even to further that, it's still not denoting a goat man that lives under the earth. Like, if you ask the brother, what was the devil described as in that specific chapter? That there's no description of the devil. If that's the case, and he was put forward in Job as an evil person, it's still only going to mean adversary or accuser. It doesn't mean pure evil. It doesn't mean man with goat horns and horsey legs and a pitchfork and whatnot. It has nothing to do with that. These are concepts that we're feeding with our own fear. Fear exists in our mind. The slowest part of your vibration is where Set, aka the devil, aka Lucifer, aka whatever you want to call all your most quote-unquote disagreeable parts is hiding. When you begin to open the chakras, you'll be able to experience this firsthand.
Okay, so we've got some brothers from the UK as well as join us. Brother Virtue, I know you join us, so I'm just gonna say hello to my brother from the UK as well. If you've got any questions to ask, please shoot them away while we still got time. We've got the sister Carla. Hello, sorry, did you say something? Okay, we've got the sister Carla who's here as well. Google, who's here, and Isa as well, who's here. So if you've got any questions, anybody on the panel right now, if you've got any questions or you're just enjoying it, just let me know if you've got any questions. Audience members, if you're enjoying this information, please hit the like button. Let us know that you're enjoying it. Also, share this away. Let everybody, get familiar with these new titans that are rising. Because we're trying to breed. If you go into once you subscribe and you got into our About Us section, you see that we're trying to create and develop and foster titans. That's really our mission. We want to create the new generations or the new generation of titans. So that's with the Facebook group. We're on there. We're constantly posting. We've got a whole host of titans on there. Tazaria, Lord Abba, Dr. Ali, Muhammad, the whole shebang is actually on there. And they're there to mentor and to aid and facilitate the growth of these titans who are springing up everywhere. We've got titans springing up literally worldwide, and we're trying to make sure this continues. So I'm going to give a big shout out to my family over there who supports us in the Netherlands. Also like to give a big shout out to the family in Egypt as well who supports us. Those in Bahama, Trinidad as well who gives us their support. So thank you, Canada as well. Thank you for the support. So yeah, let me just go to the YouTube as well and get one of the last questions before we sign out. And it goes a little something like this. Okay, no. So somebody here is giving us what in the Satan means in the Strong's Concordance. Strong's Concordance 7854. Satan literally means an adversary. Also, the name of the superhuman adversary of God originally were part of speech. It also says here that Satan, Nas exhaustive concordance, word origin of a certain derivation, definition, adversary, also the name of the superhuman adversary of God. Translation, accuser, adversary, Satan. So yeah, that kind of just backs up what he was talking earlier about Satan being an accuser or an adversary. So what are other planets therefore? I'm not too sure what that question is implying. If you'd like to come on and ask that question, please do. Brother Isa, I see you as well. If you've got any questions before we sign out, let me know.
Yes, bro.
Okay.
Hotep Salam, brothers.
Hotep Salam.
I just wanted to know, bro, what do you think of the idea that let's say certain beings might be of a different dimension in a sense? So, either that they existed before the human being, or that the human mind created them, but they come in and out. So certain human beings can see them, or whether they be jinn, or they be, let's say, spirits that people do rituals to. And do you get what I'm saying? What's your position on that, if you have one?
I mean, it all depends on what we're actually, when we're talking about beings, what are they made out of? That is the first thing, because a lot of this stuff we romanticized about a lot of this mythology so much that we actually believe there are things floating around in space with arms and legs and all this kind of stuff. We need to understand, what are these beings made out of? If they exist or coexist with us in this reality, they must have some kind of photonic composition at most. Even if they're not flesh and blood, they must be photonic to be perceivable, to even have contact with an operator or a magus or someone that's actually performing a magical work. They must have some vibration, which is synonymous with heat, which is synonymous with photons. Now, the frequency itself always exists. There's frequency, the frequency of hatred, of rape, of bloody murder always existed, but it is only when we apply a label to it, that's when we feel like, think about this, how would the frequency for Ogun exist, but it only comes into activity when we apply a storyline to it. So we give it a wife, some children, mythos to go around it, and a name. That way we can guide where the frequency goes. There's no, the mindset that you need to be going in with is that there's no frequency, or aka spirit, aka being, that can harm you out here. It exists within you. It's down to you to get control of your mind, to bring you, because at the end of the day, if you gave it its name, then that means you created it. It's as simple as that. There's not any being that you can name, and if you haven't got a name for it, then what is it then?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, bro?
It doesn't exist unless it has a name. Okay, my brother Tae, have you got any last closing words to give our audience, and even kind of let them know where they can find you as well before we close out?
Yes, indeed. I just want everybody to be aware that mastering the breath is vital at this point. Forget about the infighting, forget about debating whose God's more powerful, whose religion is the oldest. We're all Moors, we're all Hebrews, we're all Buddhists, we all Kushites. We gave everybody their platform. Don't ever forget that, ever. The presentations are also going to be available for download on the website. If everybody visits www.mylovewellbeing.com, I'm going to put it in the chat right now as well. You'll be able to download the lessons that I've been releasing for the past year or so. They're called Ions. But if you go through to the bottom of the homepage, each one is downloadable. So definitely download those. So I'll put in the chat now. So it's www.mylovewellbeing.com. And we hold yoga classes in Brixton every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. So just go on the website and add me, or if you want, email me at info info at mylovewellbeing.com. That's mylove, MYLOVE, wellbeing, WELLBEING.com. And you can add me on Facebook as well, Tae Campbell.
Excellent, excellent. So hopefully I'll leave this information down below in the description box, you know, and stay tuned. You know, our upcoming episodes, we have, you know, we've got a special Passover celebration that's going to be taking place. We've got Zion Lex coming into the studio, Polite's prosecutor, going to be discussing his new book. You know, discussing his new book. Wow, if you haven't bought that book, you know, join us on the Facebook so you can see, you know, a few feature pages of his book as well. You know, we've got Wesley Muhammad. Wesley Muhammad is actually in the UK. Everybody stand up. Wesley Muhammad is in the UK with J Electronica tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m. We're going to go down to Oxford, you know, Oxford and Cambridge University. Yeah, Oxford University. We're going to go down to the Union. They're going to be there, present some information. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So if you're in the UK right now, hit me up for the information, for further details. To be honest, you need to be a member to actually get inside of the Union. You know, but hit me up and we'll see what we can do for you as well. So we've got Dr. Wesley Muhammad in the UK. Oh my gosh, he's going to be presenting some information for us in upcoming, you know, few weeks as well on Talk with the Titans. So, you know what, just look out for us, hear what we have to say, sign up, hit that subscribe button up there or down below, and watch our playlist. We've got literally over 24 hours worth of content that you can actually watch right now. So I have been Callum L, and this has been Talk with the Titans, broadcasting to you all the newest upcoming Titans who are rising right now. Peace and love. Salute.